Hello, and welcome to the Behind Inspiration Podcast Show. My name is Ken Waller, and I am your host. Today on Behind Inspiration Podcast, I have a phenomenal guest with us today. A guest that does something that I believe a lot of us don't even really know that exists. And I'll let her say what she does and how she goes about getting things done in the manner that she does, which is awesome. So I'm going to introduce her briefly, but I will let you know all of her information will be in the show notes for this particular podcast. So this morning, I'd like to introduce Dr. Amanda Carter. A little bit about Dr. Carter. Dr. Carter is the CEO of CARAFAP. CARAFAP is an organization that works specifically for children and I believe young adults with autism. So, like I mentioned, her job is one that has passion, has a love for children, a love for those of us that have children and family members or whatever that has autism. So I just want her to really, if you would, Dr. Carter, dive in to what exactly CARAFAP is, and a little bit more about you, please. So welcome, Dr. Carter.
Thank you so much for having me. So it's actually pronounced CARAFAP. CARAFAP stands for Care and Recreational Activities for Autistic People. CARAFAP started in 2014. So we've been in business now for a little over 7 years. We provide in-home, community-based and group-based services to individuals with Autism Spectrum Disorder, but our practice has expanded and we service all type of individuals with many different disabilities. We're currently located in Columbia, Maryland. We just recently expanded to the Atlanta, Georgia area, which we're very excited about. And our overall goal and mission is to really provide meaningful supports to help our clients thrive and become successful as much as possible, despite whether one may have a disability.
That's great, because I mean, when you look at it from the perspective, Dr. Carter, what you mentioned, I kind of believe that it takes a special person. It takes a special person to do what you do, because it's not like the ordinary mentoring, if you will, as far as providing the type of service that you provide. So, what made you get it? Give me a little bit of your history, Dr. Carter, in regards to how you even got up to this particular point of actually starting CARAFAP.
So when I was working on my undergraduate degree, I had an opportunity to work in a group home. And while working in the group home, I worked with the geriatric population, and many of them had disabilities, which led to another opportunity where I worked with a young man who had a diagnosis of autism. And at that moment and at that time, autism wasn't as prevalent as it is now. There wasn't a lot of awareness. This individual had a history of elopement, and I just will recall always trying to ensure that he was safe. He would run a lot. He would bolt out into traffic. So it was incumbent upon me to make sure that I was always aware of his surroundings as well as my surroundings. He had a younger sister who was neurotypical. She didn't have autism, and a lot of the emphasis was focused on his younger sister, who was quote unquote considered normal. So following that experience, I worked on my master's, and I stumbled upon another family. Mom has 2 children on the spectrum. One is more severe. I actually worked with the client who was more severe. And to this day, she and I still have a very cohesive relationship. And I tell people all the time, she is the reason why CARAFAP exists.
Wow.
Just really being able to see her in action and just deal with the day-to-day complexities of raising not 1, but 2 children affected with autism. It was truly commendable. And I started working on my doctorate. I actually completed my dissertation research in East Haddam, Connecticut. And it focused on transitional planning for individuals affected with autism. And that was some quite interesting research that I was able to do. while working on that. And from then I really started advocating at the local level, national, and even international level to really bring autism awareness, just because I feel that it is such a vulnerable population. And a lot of times people who have significant behavioral needs, they're often overlooked, mishandled, and mistreated. So I feel that I am the voice, one of the many voices in the community to really provide full transparency and advocacy to help individuals really live their best life. And originally I wanted to become an anesthesiologist. That's what I wanted to do, or become an entertainment attorney. I had no vision of becoming, an expert in autism. So it's just very amazing to kind of see how things unfold.
But Dr. Carter, if you will, hold on to that comment, because I have another question for you. But right now we're at a break. We've got to take a quick break. And when we come back, if you can finish up a little bit in regards to how CARAFAP started and what's your goals and mission for the future. So you're watching and you're listening to the Behind the Inspiration podcast, again with Dr. Amanda Carter. We'll be right back. Dr. Carter, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of dedication. I can say a lot of that, because really to be able to do what you're doing, it takes a certain person. So if you could just touch briefly, because I asked everybody this question. So this is the Behind the Inspiration podcast. So I have to ask this: what inspired you to do what you're doing right now? Based on all the things I mentioned, what inspired you? I'm sorry.
So before we went on break, I was speaking of the family that I worked with, and she has 2 children on the autism spectrum. And to be honest, she is the reason why CARAFAP exists. I truly admire her. I tell her all the time, because we still have a very cohesive relationship with one another. And I'm just so grateful that our paths crossed. Because our agency has been able to help hundreds of families. We've been able to employ well over 300 people since our existence. And for that, I'm extremely humbled and grateful.
That's awesome. Because, okay, let's go. I'll just ask this question then. Is there anyone, as far as a family member or something like that? Because, this inspiration comes from someplace, Dr. Carter, and I believe you've been around it at some point to be able to have that initiative, to have that drive, and have that passion to help people. So, so who played a role in that, as far as giving you those particular, I would say, traits to be able to do what you do?
Well, if I think back during my child rearing years, I've always had a very vivid and wild imagination. Okay. At the age of 7, I said I was going to be an entrepreneur. I used to clean my mother's friends' homes at the age of 7. They used to give me a few dollars, and I thought, I was really doing something then. So even looking at it from that perspective, I've always been a very relentless person. When someone tells me no, I keep trying until I get that final yes. Yeah. And I feel that that is imperative to become successful, to become a successful entrepreneur. And just my family, I just wanted to be able to create a wonderful lifestyle, for those who, I hold very near and dear to my heart. And again, even providing supports to individuals who are in most need, so they have those memories to reflect back on, even if they aren't able to articulate it the way you and I are able to communicate and express ourselves.
Now, Dr. Carter, we got to take another quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk briefly about some of the things that I experienced that CARAFAP does, the external services that you provide for the kids to have fun.
So our goal is to, like I said, provide meaningful supports to our families. And that may entail doing things from an unorthodox perspective, being very creative, being innovative. So we provide an array of services in the community. So we've had fashion shows highlighting individuals on the spectrum with the incorporation of service dogs. We had the fashion show back in 2019. It was such a beautiful experience, and families to this day are still talking about it. They're ready for us to resume, come out of COVID, so we can all be together and engage in, various activities such as that. We had Field Day. Ken, I know you were a part of that, and I'm so grateful that you were able to experience that. And we had tug of war out there, water slides, water exercise. I mean, everything that you can possibly think of. And I was out there with a pogo stick, having a good time, jumping on that thing for like 10 minutes. And it was really fun and exciting to just have that type of engagement. We also incorporate horses into our practice. I am an equestrian, so I've always had a passion for horses, and it's just been an amazing and neat feature to be able to see clients who have been very timid and apprehensive of getting on a horse, and now they're out there riding a horse. They can maneuver the rings, they can turn the horse in the right direction. So we also provide those supports. Back probably in October, if I'm not mistaken, we took some of our clients for our TI program. It's kind of like a group-based program. We took them to Hershey Park, and I don't recall if I even have ever been to Hershey Park as a kid, but just going to the chocolate factory and seeing how they make chocolate. I was like, wow, like this is so amazing. So I really felt that I was able to be a kid again, relive those moments. We take them bowling. We partner with an organization called Zamdance. The owner is a very dear friend of mine. She's so amazing. Her program is very unique, and it's kind of designed like how Zumba is. But it's to support individuals with disability. It obviously provides support for physical exercise, engagement, the ability to follow simple directions, and you can get a true workout. They were here probably about 3 days ago, and I'm like, wow, like I'm really out of shape.
Well, it's interesting, Dr. Carter. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's interesting because, I guess for the average person, we don't get to engage, excuse me, in watching certain activities, especially with individuals with autism, or for that matter, any other type of, I hate using the term disability, but again, I guess that's what the word will be, but we don't get to interact. The everyday person doesn't get to interact like that. So when I was fortunate, or more or less blessed, to see what you do in action, it really captured my attention. And that's the reason why I asked you to come on to the Behind the Illustration podcast and share what you do, because it's a dynamic thing. It's a well-needed thing. And again, the passion that you have to be able to do this. So Dr. Carter, if you could, because we're running up against time again, and I apologize for that, but is there anything that you could give our listeners in regards to individuals with special needs, of course, in your case, with autism, in where they can basically seek help or be able to possibly reach out to you to get some of the services that you provide? So could you give us a little bit of that information? But I tell you what, I really, really would like to hear, if you will. I know I'm kind of like selfish, but I want to really know how your passion has turned into such a successful business. We always say that our gifts make way for our blessings, and I believe that. So I know I asked you a lot, but I'll put it like this: pick and choose some of that. We got about 5 minutes, so if you could really expound with our listeners on the importance in what drives you and what somebody like me could do to help out.
I think what really drives me is my passion. I have a deep passion towards helping those. I have family members who are affected with autism, and you asked about resources. We are an approved autism waiver agency and DDA provider in the state of Maryland. To be frank with you, the typical family who comes into our program, they wait at least 10 or 12 years to receive services.
Wow.
So it's very hard to receive services. Behavioral health has definitely gone on an extreme influx due to COVID. And, you know, I mean, it's at the point where we can't help every single family that comes into care, unfortunately, just because the demand is so massive. And, you know, and my advice to others who are interested in maybe starting a behavioral health entity is to really identify what your niche is, and work that aggressively until you're able to bring your dreams, your aspirations, and your goals into full fruition. And be relentless and be okay with doing things alone. That's why I am where I am today, because I had to spend a lot of time alone to get to where we are today. And you have to be okay with that.
Well, you know, Dr. Carter, if you could, just now, because again, all your information will be in the show notes for this particular podcast. If you can tell or really let people know how they can reach you or get a look at what you do at CARAFAP, could you just give us your website, please?
Sure. So we can be located at www.carafap.com. Our contact number is 443-542-9177.
That's cool. So it's www.carafap.com. Is that correct? .com. CARAFAP.com. Well, again, I probably didn't say it right, but it will be right in the show notes. So Dr. Carter, you know, I just want to thank you again for joining the Behind the Inspiration podcast show. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to working with you again in some capacity. Please invite me to some of the events because I really enjoyed myself. I just didn't get on the water slide, and I didn't do the sack hop. I didn't do any of that stuff or the pogo stick because I got a bad back. But anyway, but really, I really enjoy watching what you do. I do understand the nature of the importance of being able to have that kind of heart to get this done, because really we have to step up and be a champion for the things that we believe in. So thank you again, Dr. Carter, for joining the Behind the Administration podcast show. By all means, please like, share this information with your friends, because it's always going to be positivity. It's always going to be inspiration, and it's always going to be peace. I mean, because we need to encourage each other no matter what we're doing. So thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Behind the Inspiration podcast show. My name is Ken Waller, and I am your host. Peace.
Thank you.